I don't know if it's hot in here or what, or if I'm just like sweaty for no reason.
Just for the people watching at home right now, it's probably not even 8:30. You getting cool there, Sam?
Sam?
What's up, bro?
That looks like a fresh motor in the shop truck.
It's a semi-freshy. This was the engine from before the last engine. We had an oiling problem on it, hurt a main bearing. So we took the engine out, got it freshened up, put it back in there. We made some changes to it. So Dart recommends a pump. It's a lower volume than even a stock LS runs. They recommend, I think it's this part number, this 10294. So that's a priority main oiling pump for those style blocks. And we have not been running that pump in this previously. So we're gonna make a couple changes to try to help this thing live. And that's one of the big ones, is putting the correct, like the recommended pump on this thing. And so we're putting that pump, the pump in it, we're putting a restricted push rod in it, which should keep some oil out of the top, the top end of the engine. And we installed some drain backs in the back of the heads, which drain back to the pan. So all those things hopefully help, right? And then I do believe we're gonna get an oil cooler and an AccuSump on this thing. And we're confident that our oiling problems are gonna be solved after that, so.
You'd think that with this being a truck or even an LS powered vehicle, that there wouldn't be a lot of room in the front. But as you can see here, Sam is just sitting on the front.
Kind of in it, yeah. I see something I goofed up on. I think I can fix it.
So how's it been coming along, Sam?
Good. Everything on this truck's very easy to work on, except for the intake, because I run all the wiring under it.
Oh, okay.
And it is, every time it makes me question like what I do with my life. You know what I mean? It's just one of those things.
So I know this is technically a new motor in its entirety for the Burnout Truck.
Yep.
Kind of. Is there any crazy changes that are going to have to be done, maybe in like the tuning aspect of it, or?
Not really. Maybe a tiny bit of a fueling change, but it's the same head, same blower, same cam. It's a little less compression than the previous engine was, but by like half a point. Nothing big. No.
Okay.
It'll be minor fuel trims. I can probably put a little more spark in it. That's about it.
But so far, what needs to be tidied up on this? I mean, from my end, it looks like valve covers and a couple plugs, but also I'm not the expert on this.
Yep, so I'm waiting on push rods. They should be here Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
I ordered some, not the normal ones, like the normal ones we would have here on the shelf, but the ones I ordered have a restrictor in the actual push rod tube, and so it meters oil to the top of the engine a little bit, and so it's gonna help us keep oil in the pan on those long runs, where it's a lot different than like a drag car or something, where like you're wide open at 7,000 or 8,000 for 8 seconds, right?
Yeah.
We're out there doing that for like 2 minutes. And so it's very important to make sure that the pan has oil in it and that the pump is fed non-aerated oil. And to tell you the truth, that's what's been causing all of our woes with every one of these engines that we've had problems with, is 100% just too much chip for too long and it causing oiling problems. So, we're doing a couple things, and the push rod's one of those things that's getting changed, that we expect to help Band-Aid not having a dry sump, which would be the real fit.
So what is specifically happening in this situation? Is the push rod being a problem, or?
The push rod just wedged in there sideways because it wasn't in the cup.
Oh, okay.
So it's just stuck.
Yep. It's just a case the old stuck push rod.
So Sam, why is it a good thing that we are checking our push rods right now?
Because if we didn't and we just assembled it and started it, it would immediately blow up the engine.
So what are some things people should pay attention to when they're doing something like this, even if it is like a stock rebuild?
So in a perfect world, like what we did here, we would have assembled the valve train with the engine out of the car, because then we can see everything. It's really easy. Doing it inside the car, it's hard to see down the push rod hole and actually visually confirm that you have in the correct spot. And since we're not able to do that, we're sliding them in, we're gently spinning the engine, we're making sure every valve moves and that the push rod is not jammed in some place it's not supposed to be. Because if it is, it will result in immediate catastrophic engine failure.
And so we should do this, whether it's, you recommend that people should do something like this for stock, build, if it's in the car and even on like an engine stand?
If you're building an engine of any kind, as you're building it, as you're assembling it and adding parts, spinning the engine over as you go is a good thing to do, because there's so many things inside of an engine that can interfere with each other. If you just assembled it and then you had a problem, then you wouldn't know what it was. If you spin the engine over as you go and you have a problem, you have a tight spot, a noise, something like that, then you know that last part you put on is very, very likely, the issue. So it makes diagnosing that much easier.
Anything you'd like to add, Jesse?
Always check your push rod length. And make sure your push rods are clean.
Yep.
That's the only other thing.
We'll probably have I think we're making a video on how to measure a push rod pretty soon, so.
Number one question, how do I measure push rods?
I don't know if it's hot in here or what, or if I'm just like sweaty for no reason.
Just for the people watching at home right now, it's probably not even 8:30. This is just Texas, bro. You getting cool there, Sam?
Maybe some ventilation.
Let that mullet blow. Let it blow in the wind. Nah, she's moving.
Front one's good. Back one's good. So all these are good too, right? Yep.
Hey.
So now we will torque those things and we're ready for valve fillers.
And not Guten tight, right? This is actual torque spec.
I've Guten tighted many of them, but we're gonna torque these.
Is there any specific pattern that you should be torquing these, or is it just?
On this particular engine, no.
Okay.
If you were doing something a little wilder, yeah, you typically do.
One eternity later.
What are you doing there, bud?
Not good. Taking it for a little, post-surgery drive, just make sure it drives right.
Mind if I hop in with you?
Sure, yeah.
This is gonna be interesting.
We're just gonna be putting around. We're not doing anything illegal. Okay, somehow my alignment got off.
It happens.
I genuinely don't know why.
And we can fix that.
Because we didn't take steering apart.
She's ready to go rip.
Pretty much, man. I freaking love the way this truck sounds now with the new pipes. Incredible. It wasn't that much of a pain. These are very easy to work on, but we made some upgrades along the way, so it took some time. You wind up waiting on things like that, and it eats time. So we lost about a week waiting on push rods. But other than that, it wasn't bad at all. Pretty much a wham and a bam. You could honestly do it like easily in a day if you weren't making a change and getting like hung up on parts. But we were trying to upgrade some things and make it act better. I would say this oil cooler is definitely working, because even sitting here idling, just coolant temperatures are lower than they normally would be. I think that's gonna be a big upgrade to keep this thing alive. Plus it adds about two quarts of capacity, 2 extra quarts. So we got a 7-quart pan, a big filter, and 2 quarts in there, so it's gonna be 9 or 10 quarts, something like that, you know.
Heck yeah.
Somewhere in that range, which should help keep things alive, man.